Also around the world tonight, authorities in Hong Kong say they have granted bail to most of the more than 50 pro-democracy activists who were arrested this week in a sweeping crackdown on dissent. The mass arrests Wednesday were the biggest move against Hong Kong's democracy movement since Beijing imposed a national security law in a semi-autonomous territory last June to quell dissent following months of anti-government protests in 2019. And joining me now on Skype to talk more about this week's developments is Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China. Gordon, welcome back. Always great to have you on the show. More than 50 arrests carried out this week. What were these pro-democracy activists charged with, and what are they accused of?
They were charged with subverting state power, Tracy. And most of these arrests related to the Democratic primary that was held earlier. Now, this was unofficial, but what the pan-democratic movement wanted to do was to narrow down the list of candidates. Basically, Beijing says, look, those people who are going to be elected were going to be obstructionists, so therefore this is a violation of the national security law, which China imposed on Hong Kong on June 30. Of course, that's absurd, and I hope that the current president and the next one are going to do something about this.
I understand that among those arrested and released was American lawyer John Clancey, an associate at a Hong Kong law firm. What are we hearing from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo about this, as well as the incoming Biden administration?
Secretary Pompeo condemned in the strongest terms these arrests. You're referring to John Clancey, a human rights lawyer. He actually was arrested and then released without charge. Now, they can charge him later, of course, but he is the first foreigner to be charged under the national security law. And this really shows the breathtaking sweep of those arrests on Wednesday, plus the 2 arrests on Thursday.
And I know there's also reports that the Chinese government issued an arrest warrant for 2 Danish MPs for their role in helping a Hong Kong activist into Denmark. What's your reaction to that, Gordon? Is that something that can even be enforced?
Well, it can't be enforced, but this national security law has extraterritorial effect. So, for instance, I can say right now, and I'll say it, I think that China should not be ruling Hong Kong. That's a violation of the national security law. And if Beijing wants to, they can submit an extradition request to the United States, which I hope will not be enforced, especially because we don't have a treaty with China. But nonetheless, what we're seeing right now is China trying to basically demanding that other countries enforce its laws. And of course, Denmark is not going to do that.
Before we wrap up, Gordon, I quickly want to talk about Joshua Wong, the Hong Kong pro-democracy activist. I know he remains in custody. He was already serving a sentence of more than 13 months and now reportedly faces some new charges. What do you know about his status right now?
Well, he is back in detention. He was actually brought out of detention to be charged yesterday. And he is charged with, as the other 54 are, with subverting national power. That's the 53 on Wednesday and the 2 that were arrested yesterday. The charges are identical. As you point out, he's already been in detention, so this really didn't affect him.
All right, Gordon, thank you so much for coming on the show. We always appreciate your analysis.
Thank you, Tracy.